Hey everybody, Brian here, and I guess I'll start doing a video every month with the games I beat, so this will be the first time I do this. So this will be for March games, because it's April 7th. So I'll start with some games at the end of February, though, because I did beat a lot of games in February, but I want to start with just 3 of them. I'll start off with the Boy and His Blob on the Wii, and this is also on the PlayStation Network and the Xbox Store, I think you can get. I had the first Boy and His Blob for the NES. It was one of my childhood games, and I never beat it, but I got pretty far in it. I always loved the music on it, and the graphics were kind of like really like blocky, 8-bit looking, and I remember them sticking out in my mind. The original Boy and His Blob was developed by David Crane, who developed Pitfall, and basically you're this boy, and this blob comes down from space, and you feed him jelly beans, and he turns into like a trampoline or a ladder or a bowling ball, and you use those items to get through the world. Like, for example, you have to give him a jelly bean and turn him into a hole that you can fall down to the next level, turn him into a ladder to climb up to the next level. There's a root beer flavored jelly bean, which turns him into a rocket that goes to Blobonia. This is it was very more cryptic in the way that you had to figure things out. This one guides you more, and the graphics are obviously better. And there's 4 worlds, about 10 levels per world, and there's 3 treasure chests on each world that you can find. And basically, to get the treasure chest, you have the blob go over to it, and he'll eat it, and he'll collect it. And at the end of the level, if you get all 3, that's like max out level. And if you get all 3 in all the worlds, it unlocks. If you get all 3 treasure chests in all the levels of the world, it unlocks this hard level. So there's more I can do to it. So I beat the game, and some of the bosses were tricky. You had to use the blob to beat the bosses, and it's more of a puzzle platformer. And the fact that you got to figure out how to use the jelly beans to turn the blob into the items that you need to get past the areas. So very fun game. I really liked the original on the NES, despite not beating as a kid. So Boy and His Blob, very fun game. Next up for the Wii is Dragon Quest Swords. So the past summer, 2018, I beat the remaining Dragon Quest games I never beat in the main series. That's Dragon Quest 5 and 6. So I wanted to beat Dragon Quest Swords on the Wii, the only Wii Dragon Quest game that we got. And it's basically, how can I describe this? If you ever played House of the Dead or a light gun game where you move on a path and then monsters or zombies jump out. Very similar to this, except you move forward with the Wii remote and you move back. So you only control with the Wii remote. You don't use the nunchuck. And then monsters will jump out, and you use the Wii remote. You have a shield, you hit the button, and you can move the shield to block attacks, and you swing with the sword to slash like horizontally, vertically, and you do a slash, a side slash. Depending on the projectiles coming back at you, you want to hit. If they come diagonally at you, you got to swipe diagonally to hit them back at enemies. And that was the problem I had with the game. You had to be almost precisely precise with the sword swipes, or your diagonal slash would register as a horizontal or vertical slash. And I had a real tough time with that. In fact, I had to level up pretty high to get past that fault. I don't know if it was a problem with my Wii remote or I was doing something wrong, but I had a hard time with that. But despite that, I did like the game. It wasn't too long, about 12 hours or so. It's divided into chapters. You can buy armor. There's not a lot of it, but you buy armor to upgrade your character. And you do get party members. You get like your dad who can fight with you, Florette, who is like the son of one of the heroes who fought the main enemy who's resurrected in this game. And there's also the Prince of the Kingdom who you fight with. And then you are called Blade, but I changed his name to Rusty. And then Florette always calls him Rusty. It's kind of funny. But a fun game, kind of a rail shooter. Cool one-off game for the Dragon Quest series. Also in February, I beat Wario World. This is one of the few Wario games I haven't beaten. I wanted to finish. I love the Wario Land games, not WarioWare. Wario Land games, I love them. this is developed by Treasure, who did Gunstar Heroes, and basically it's a 3D platformer, so think Mario 64. There's 4 worlds with about 5 or so levels per world, so it's not too long. So there's these parts where you jump in the level, you collect treasure, and there's these parts almost like Super Mario Sunshine where there's these little level puzzle rooms where there's platforms and you have to get to the end and collect the treasure in these areas. And the camera is if you're used to a camera of early 3D platforms, you have to constantly move it, like rotate it around you to move. A lot of people have trouble with that. I didn't have too much trouble because I'm kind of used to that. And once you get the controls down, you'll be fine. So you fight with Wario can punch. He can also open his mouth and suck in coins, like you go and then he'll suck in stuff. And you can jump and like do a butt slam, I think, or a body slam. And a fun game. You can do like simple combos. The graphics are pretty bright and colorful. The music's kind of cool. It is in progressive scan, which is kind of cool. Although I played it on my CRT, so I didn't hook it up. I did hook it up a little bit to my HD TV in progressive 480, but I played it on my CRT. And it also has a link. This was when WarioWare came out, the Mega Party Games game with mini games, and you could unlock, go to a hub in the game. There's like a main hub world, and in there you could unlock like a sample of the games from WarioWare coming, the WarioWare game for Game Boy Advance. So that's kind of cool. So Wario World, very fun game. I prefer the Wario Land games better, but Wario World's kind of fun. Okay, next we get into March, and one of the first games I beat in March was Ninja Gaiden Shadow, and I love the Ninja Gaiden games. I love 1, 2, and 3 on the NES. My favorite, probably, man, before I beat 3 a few years ago, and before beating 3, I'd say my favorite would probably be 1 just for nostalgia reasons. I think 2 is probably a better game than 1, but 1 is just more nostalgia for me because it was one of the first NES games I got. 3, after beating it though, I think 3 is one of the most beautiful looking, beautiful playing NES games ever. It's challenging for sure, but once you get through it, there's a feeling of accomplishment like never before. They improved a lot in that game. The music's great, and all the Ninja Gaiden games on the NES are worth playing. This is one that wasn't originally... Tecmo didn't develop it themselves. Namco was going to create a Shadow of the Ninja game. There was a Shadow of the Ninja game on NES. They were creating one for the Game Boy, and Tecmo said, hey, why don't we just buy this property from you and we'll use it as a Ninja Gaiden game. So that's what they did. Short game, not nearly as difficult as the other Ninja Gaiden games on the NES. You can beat this after a few tries. There's like, I think, 5 or 6 levels. Very fun game. The music, there's a few music tracks from the old Ninja Gaiden game, Ninja Gaiden 1, I think. Very fun, not too hard, and very rewarding to beat, and replayable too. So Ninja Gaiden Shadow, very fun. Also, I beat Donkey Kong Land. So here we go, Donkey Kong Land. Donkey Kong Land 2. And Donkey Kong Land 3. So these are, for all 3 of them on the Super Game Boy, which I played, they have custom borders on the sides and a special color palette. So for those Donkey Kong Country games, were known for their graphics, the Silicon graphics rendering. These try to take that and kind of make it look like somewhat to those games. The only really original one is Donkey Kong Land. The first one, they kind of do a different take. It's not straight, almost like the other two and 3 are almost like ports with a little changes of 2 and 3, but the first one's kind of a different game, and and it tells like a different story almost. And the Kong letters are your continues, or extra lives, I forget. So to continue, you have to collect like KONG. So that makes the game, the Kong letters, extremely important to get. Playing it in black and white or the limited color palette of the Game Boy Player means it's hard to see a lot of stuff until you get acclimated to what stuff looks like. So there was some times where I died because I couldn't see, can I jump on this platform or can I not? It kind of blends in with the background. But once you got over that, it's a very fun platformer, kind of in the spirit of Donkey Kong Country. Of the 3 games, this is the more unique one, but it doesn't. The graphics don't stand out as good as Donkey Kong Land 2 and 3. So Donkey Kong Land 2, I liked. It was a huge improvement in, a big improvement visually over Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Land 1. Very similar to Diddy's Kong Quest on the Super Nintendo. And Donkey Kong Land 3, very similar to Donkey Kong Country 3, Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. Except, and if you remember in that game, there was almost like open world where you could go to the bear and he'd sell you like a hoverboard and you could go from the parts of the island or the hemisphere or whatever to the next. This isn't like that. It's more of a map like Donkey Kong Country where you just move like on a little board. So it's not as open worldy, but still fun. So yeah, overall, these are fun games. Pretty cheap. They're cool yellow and not too long and kind of fun. So I wanted to play those because I did play all the Donkey Kong countries, and so these are cool. I also played Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. Original Game Boy came out in 1994, so it's originally like referred to as Donkey Kong 94. So I didn't know, when I heard about this game, I thought it was just Donkey Kong, which I'm not a huge fan of, the arcade Donkey Kong. So I found out many years later that it's just the first 4 levels are Donkey Kong, and then it turns into a much different, better game, I think, where Donkey Kong takes Pauline, and you have to get a key, and you have to take the key. First, try to get the key in the level. So the level's one screen, the key's somewhere, you have to jump and navigate platforms to get to the key and figure out how to get to the door to get to the next level and chase after Pauline. Very fun, very cool. Mario has like a triple jump, he has like a handstand. Very cool moves in it. And some of those moves would go over to Super Mario 64 later in '96, where he had the triple jump and the running forward and doing a backflip. He has that in here. It consists of, I think, 8 worlds with about 6 or 7 levels each. And after a set of 3 levels, you fight Donkey Kong, and then he takes you to another set of levels, and you fight him. There's like a city, a forest, an ice area, and an airship, and then your final battle with Donkey Kong is really cool. So I don't want to spoil that. Very fun platformer. Very, very good game. It's on the 3DS Virtual Console too, so if you want to play it. Another game I played was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Fall of the Foot Clan. Very early Game Boy game. This is the first of 3 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games on the NES. And this is actually W. Moore's copy. Very simple game. Move from left to right. You can't move up and down. It's just straight 2D plane. You pick one of the turtles, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael. The sprite's really big, and then foot soldiers, Mousers will jump in, and you have to either kick them or use your weapon against them to beat them. Very short game, not too long to play through, not very hard, but the music's very good, and not bad, not terrible, but very simple. Also on the GameCube, I played Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. This is the package with the bongos here. So I heard great things about this game. but I was kind of worried because I'm not very rhythm. Like you have to move with the bongos. You have to pound on the bongos, which are in here. So the way it works is to move left, to move right, you hit the bongo right. If you want to run, you have to tap it like this. And to move left, you hit the bongo left. To jump, how do you jump? To grab, I think you have to clap. To jump, you hit both down at once. I believe that's how it is. So you have to get lots of bananas, and you get more bananas. I think it's beats they're called. So there's a rhythm to it. You try to get as many combos as you can, which means beating enemies, getting bananas without touching the ground. And the more you do, the more points you get, the higher medal count you get. And the more medals you get, it unlocks like a certain. Say to get to the next level, you need 8 medals, or so many beats, or I think. And then so the better you get, the more medals you get, the more levels you can unlock. So I beat this. It didn't take too long. Really cool. Really good graphics. Really unique to play. I never really played anything like this before. They did re-release it on the Wii, which I never played that copy, but that takes out the bongos actually, and just use the Wii remote to bang around. So fun game, very cheap too. I think on the Wii. I think it's not too expensive on the GameCube too. And you can play it with a controller, but I haven't tried that, so I can't really comment on that. Next up is Operation Z. This is a fantastic Contra game. It plays just like Contra or Super C, a little slower. Because it's on the Game Boy. They designed it around the Game Boy, so there's not as much stuff coming at you. Because the screen's smaller, they did sprites a little bit, I think. So there's not as much stuff because the screen's smaller. You have spread, fire, laser, and I think a homing weapon. Not too long, about 5 levels, I think. Very fun to play. Very worth it if you can find it. And that's Operation Z. Next one I played was a Castlevania game almost, Kid Dracula. Very fun game, very challenging. Not too long, but it gave me a tough time. So as you go through as Kid Dracula, you turn into different powers that you get. Like one, you can have an umbrella to protect from like projectiles falling or on you, or hold it like a shield. You can turn into a bat to fly. You have like a attack that like shoots in an arc. You have I think another one I can't remember, but the music's fantastic. The graphics are great. It plays like a cross between Mega Man and Castlevania. Just a fun game, and I hope maybe on the Castlevania collection that Konami announced, they'll actually release this, because it's very hard to find, and I think more people need to play it, because it's just so unique, and that's Kid Dracula. Yoshi game. I never played Yoshi's Story. I've heard mixed things about it. Some people say it's too easy and that throws them off. I found it very fun. I found it actually challenging if you want to find everything, so I disagree with it being easy. If you want to get from start to finish, it doesn't take too long. But you miss out on so many levels doing that. So there's hearts in the game. There's like 3 hearts in each level. The more hearts you collect, the more stages you unlock. So it's hard enough to go through and find all the missing hearts. So I still have like, I think 10 or so levels I have to play. So the way it is, the level will loop continuously until you collect 30, I think, fruit. Certain fruit are better per your Yoshi, so I think a yellow Yoshi, bananas are better. And melons are the best to get of all. They're like these, and they're hidden throughout all the world. So to get the best score, you want to find nothing but melons. And you can use like a sniff move where he'll sniff and he'll find something. If he finds something, he'll like get all excited, and you can butt stomp it, and then there's usually a melon there. but you have to be so precise with where you butt stomp that it's really, really tough. So, fun game. The graphics and music are great. But I don't quite agree with people really thinking it's easy, because it's, well, I guess I do agree with that. It's easy if you don't find all the levels and go for the best score. But it is challenging. There's some challenge to it, platform-wise. And it is fun. There are warp points where, since the levels loop, there's these little guys that once you activate, there's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can use them to warp to different points on the stage, and that's how you can get around fast. So, interesting game. I'm glad Nintendo took a chance and made something different like this. Very fun. This game has been on my list of games to beat forever. I used to rent it as a kid, and that's Startropics. So this is the classic NES game that we only came out in America. I remember renting this from Videovisions, and I never beat it. It did come with a letter, which I actually used in this playthrough. They tell you in the game, take my letter and dip it in water, and you'll find out the code. So basically, your uncle's kidnapped, and you have to activate the transmitter, but to do that you have to, he wrote the frequency on here, and you can only find it by dipping this letter in water, and it would come out frequency 747. You put that, and it would track him into sub, and then you could find him and continue the game. So that's cool. This game's always intrigued me because I love the look of it, I love the music, everything about it. But for some reason I never beat it. I thought maybe it was too hard, but it's not really that. It's challenging for sure, but once you play, it's forgiving, very forgiving. So there's an overworld part where you go around, talk to people, and depending on who you talk to, you go to the next dungeon. And the dungeons are where the meat of the game, the fun part of the game is. So you save automatically when you go into a dungeon. So if you run out of lives, you start at the beginning of the dungeons. So it's very forgiving. And once you figure out, go through the dungeon like 2 times and die, you figure out, okay, enemies here, this part's here, I have to go here, this is where I go to beat the dungeon. So it's very forgiving, and it's very fun. I love the dungeons in this game. I think there's around 8 chapters. It goes crazy from you start exploring islands, you rescue a dolphin, get a submarine, you find like an alien spaceship that your uncle found, and then you find him, and then you find out it's this group of people called the Argonians, and how they were sent here, and Zoda was after them, so he came here. Very cool, and then the sequel would follow up in Startropics 2, which I recently beat. I'll talk about that more next month. I like that game a lot too, but Startropics, a classic NES game. Give it a chance if you like dungeon games, like Zelda games. Great music and fun atmosphere. Another game I beat for the first time, Tailspin, and this game is people consider it the worst of the Capcom Disney games, based on the 90s Disney cartoon with Baloo. He was like a courier service. It's a shooter where the big thing that makes this difficult is when you start out, so you move left, you can move backwards by hitting a button, and your plane will flip and the screen will scroll to the left. Hit it again while you're stationary, the screen will go to the left, right. So you have to be completely still when you do that, or else you won't turn. So there's parts where you have to do that to go back and get items and keep yourself from being crushed. Also, if you want to shoot, you can shoot diagonal in this game, but you can only shoot if there's an enemy coming at you up. You have to move diagonally and shoot it, and you can do that. The problem with this game is that makes it very hard is when you start out the game, you can only shoot 1 shot on the screen at once. The problem with that is if there's an enemy, say there's an enemy coming here. Okay, I'm going to shoot this enemy. You shoot it. Okay, the bullet's on its way. Uh-oh, an enemy's coming here. You turn up to shoot it, but you can't because that first bullet is still on the screen, not hitting its first target yet. And then you'll die. The game is very hard because of that. Once you get the rapid shot, which allows 2 shots at the screen, the game gets tremendously easier. It's still tough, but very more easier. Once you get the multi-shot, you can shoot as many as you want. The game's a lot easier. I think maybe they should have started you with the shooting 2 or 3 shots at once on the screen, because when you start the game, you will die because of that. I really, really like this game. People say it's really hard. It is hard, but I beat it on 2 playthroughs. First time getting acclimated with how to beat the game, or how to play the game. And once I figured out how to play the game, you have an item shop where you can buy items. Like, first thing you want to buy is the rapid shot, get the armor, you can get health for your plane, and a speed. So you want to get, depending on the order you get, makes the game easier. You want to get one of the multi-shots first. You can get armor or life, and then get speed is really good too, because you want to be fast as possible for the last stage. But it is very, very, very challenging. But it's very rewarding once you beat it. And I'm not very good at shooters, but this one I didn't have too bad of a time once I figured out how I was supposed to play it. If you fight against it, you will absolutely hate this game. But it's worth trying, at least. It is on the Capcom Disney Afternoon Collection. It has good music, same Capcom charm. Another one I beat was Ducktales on the NES. This is almost like a Mega Man game. It is basically on the Mega Man 5 engine, I believe. So you play as a Darkwing Duck, and you have a cape which you can pull up and block projectiles. And you can grab, the main mechanic on this is you can latch on the platforms and jump from platform to platform, pull yourself up and stuff. You have a gas gun, which will shoot, the default's like shoots a projectile. You have one that'll shoot like a diagonal, like a lightning one that'll shoot like in a diagonal spread. You have like one that'll shoot like a bomb and then do like a shoot down on the ground and then take out ground enemies. And you have like a plunger, almost like Quickshot, which I'll get to. And you can shoot it on the wall and then use it to jump up, I believe, if I recall correctly. Very fun game. Plays like Mega Man, where you can pick the stages, pick the first 3, then the next 3 of the city will open up, and you have the last level to fight. Very fun and very cool artwork too. Music's very good too. Next one I beat was Ducktales II. So I never beat the original Ducktales on NES. I only beat the remaster that came out in 2014 or 12 or something on the Wii U and other platforms. I beat it on the Wii U. I really like this game too. There's a lot more to it than the first Ducktales. They improved some things. The music's not as good as the original Ducktales music, but you can grab stuff with a cane and pull it. What else is new? There's different areas like Niagara Falls, and I forget some other areas, but you go through the game and there's treasures in each area, and the goal is to get all the treasures, and I think I got all the treasures, but I still didn't get the best ending. But if you like DuckTales, this is worth playing. It is on the Disney Afternoon Collection as well. So I do like DuckTales 2 a lot. The next one is Little Mermaid. I played this at my friend's house in high school, and I didn't play a lot, but I did remember little bits of it. I remember bubbles for some reason. And so I played this. It's very short and very easy, but very fun. So basically how it works is you have 3 stages of power-ups. You have a power for your weapon and a range for your weapon. So it goes up to 3 on each one. So the first one is just 1 bubble, then it turns into 3 bubbles, and it turns into a huge bubble, I think, for your power. Range, it'll start going a little short one way, then a medium way, then a long way. Once you die, you lose those. And to get health, you have to like hit the sand with your tail, and then health will come out, and you fight Ursula at the end. It's very kid-friendly. The graphics are fun. The sound's fun, and worth playing. A short, fun game you can beat in an afternoon or so. Next we have Quickshot, starring Donald Duck. This is a fun game. It's almost like, once I figured out how to play it, so you pick a level at the beginning. There's like Duckburg, Transylvania, and such. You go there, you get to the end, and then somebody will say, oh, we can't get here without a key. So the point is you have to go on a treasure hunt to find, they don't tell you where, but in certain areas you have to get the item to get the key, for example. So say you go to Transylvania to get this item, to get the key in the next level to get into Duckburg or whatever. So it's very openish. So you don't know where to go until you get to... So you play through the level, you get to the end, and you can't go anywhere, and then you got to go back. But there's like a flag right where you are, so it's not like you got to go back to the beginning of the level. You just call your nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and they pick you up in the plane. And then you go to the next level to try to find the item you need. So there's 3 areas that open up at first, then there's another 3, and then another 3, I think. And then you go to the island for the final area. Very fun game. You have this gun, the plunger, that upgrades. The first upgrade will just hit enemies. You don't quite kill them as much as you stun them. You hit them with the plunger and they get in a shock, and then you can walk by them without getting hurt. The second plunger allows you to upgrade, allows you to stick to a wall, and you can use it as a platform to jump up to get higher places. And the third upgrade allows you to grapple onto birds and such, and it'll stick to them, and you can grab on, and then it can take you across pits. There's also a pop gun with popcorn. It'll shoot like a projectile to hurt enemies. And there's like other items you can get, which are dedicated to the levels you need to get past. Like you need the key to get through certain areas, the staff to get in Egypt you get, and then there's use a staff to get something to melt the ice in the Antarctic. It does feel like a... Oh, and there's a cool area in the final stage near the end of the game where you get to this cliff, and there's nothing there. It's just this gorgeous-looking 16-bit cliff, and it's just like a drop, like almost like Indiana Jones, where in The Last Crusade, where he gets to the edge of the cliff, and there's like nothing there, and he has to take a leap of faith and step onto the bridge. It took me forever, like, what am I supposed to do? And then I was trying to use the plunger to climb, but what you had to do was jump off, and then you fall on a hidden platform, and then you jump again, and you see another platform you got to adjust to get to it. Very cool. It felt very awesome. This feels like... It does feel like an adventure, like Donald is on like a globetrotting adventure, like Indiana Jones. The map's kind of like Indiana Jones, where you see him move. Very fun game. The enemies are great. The character animation's great. The music's great. Very fun game. Another game I played was Castlevania Bloodlines. This is a great Castlevania game. Very much similar to Castlevania 1 and 3 on the NES. This feels like... So Castlevania 1 and 3 were platforming, very typical style, where you had to use your whip, and then jump, and then very linear. But depending on a weapon you get, if you memorize the areas, it was very, very fun, and very not as challenging once you played it a lot. This is very similar to that. Instead of hearts for weapon ammo, you use crystals. You can play as John Morris, who I played through the game as. He's very much like a Belmont, so you have a traditional whip. You can play as Eric Lacarde, which has like a spear, and he can do like a super... You can kneel down, and he'll charge up, and he'll do a super high jump. John Morris can grapple to platforms above and swing across pits to get to areas. So they each have a little perk. I haven't played as Eric Lacarde yet. This almost feels like if Castlevania 4 didn't exist, if something existed before Castlevania 4, after Castlevania 3, before Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo, but with that Genesis kind of feel to it. It's faster, there's hardly any slowdown. It has that Genesis look to it. The music has that great Genesis sound to it. And you can't weapon every direction, but it's like Super Castlevania 4, but it's very, very much like in the vein of Castlevania 1 and 3. And I think it's announced with the Sega Genesis Mini coming out. It's coming out on it this September. So yeah, worth getting that just for this game. Another one I beat was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist. This game's great. It's very much like Turtles in Time, but it's different. And there's less levels but they're longer, and it feels faster. Like me, I haven't played a lot of Genesis. I'm playing Genesis games now, but most of my Genesis experience was just at a friend's house. And one thing I noticed playing Genesis games is it's a lot faster. A lot of their games have a certain feel to them where they're a lot faster than Super Nintendo games. The color palette's different. This game does feel a lot faster. The voice samples aren't as good, but it's still very fun. I like that it's a different take than Turtles in Time. And there's like different bosses than Turtles in Time. There's like the guy from the movie, Tailspin. And yeah, it's very, very much worth playing. Another game I played and beat was Quickshot. I have this for the Super Nintendo as well, but I played it for the Genesis. I heard the Genesis is the better one, and that's because I heard it's a lot faster and the screen's like bigger. That's what I heard anyway. So I didn't know how to play this at first. I played it and then I died and then my game was over. And I was like, wow, this game's going to be impossibly hard. And it is, but the key is once you get the spots, if you get a certain amount of spots, it'll tell you, get so many spots. That's to get to the end of the level and save your guy who's in a cage, your missing spot who's in a cage. And that's the goal of the level. Get so many spots in the level, scattered through the level, to open a cage to rescue your friend, another spot. So, and once you get so many more after that, it'll say bonus area unlocked. That's what you want, because in the bonus area there's letters that spell cool spot, C-O-O-L and S-P-O-T. So you get so many continues depending on letter you find. And in each bonus stage there's a letter, and that letter enables you a continue, and there's like 3 or 4 lives per continue. So you can't continue unless you get in those bonus stages and find those letters. That's extremely important to do. Also, you can fire in all directions and use that a lot to hit enemies before you get to them, because they stay dead. So you want to clear out areas around you so when you get to them later you don't have to deal with them. Because there is a lot of blind stuff in this game which I don't really like, where if you just run in like a fast platform, you will die a lot. You have to take it very slow, clear out an area, look where you're jumping, and be very particular with your jumps. Once I did that, it was a lot easier, but it was still challenging, but still, it looks great, it plays great, and I'm curious to try the Super Nintendo version and see how that is. For those who don't know, Spot was a mascot for 7-Up in the 90s. Cool Spot. The next game I played was played and beat was Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse. Surprised how short this game was. It's an early Genesis game. I never played it. I love Magical Quest on Super Nintendo a lot. This isn't quite as long, but I think that's a good thing because it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's very easy to pick up and play. It did give me a challenge playing through, figuring out the last boss, how to beat her at the end, but nothing too hard. Very replayable and very, very fun. So I think that is everything I beat for March and a few games in February there. So I'll try to do this every month or so. So what I'm playing now is I just beat 2 games or about 4 games in April so far. I'm playing through. I don't think I'll beat Contra Hard Corps by the end of April, because that game is really kicking my butt. But I get a little farther each time. But that game's awesome. I love it despite it being so hard. But yeah, that's amazing. So I'll see you guys in May for what I beat in April. So thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day. Bye.